My wife said she was going on a girls' trip, but her male best friend butt-dialed me saying, "I love you so much" to her at the lake house. I listened to them kiss before hanging up and plotting revenge. Let me explain how my picture-perfect marriage imploded when I uncovered not just my wife's affair, but a systematic pattern of deception that would cost her everything she'd built. My wife Lisa and I have been married for 13 years now, since we were both 25. We met in college, and everything seemed perfect on the surface. We both graduated with solid degrees and landed excellent jobs right out of school. I work as a senior systems analyst for a Fortune 500 tech company, making $145,000 annually with comprehensive benefits. Lisa initially worked for her father's small consulting business, but after he passed away 5 years ago, she took over the entire operation. What started as a modest firm grew exponentially under her management. She transformed it from a $200,000 annual revenue company into a $2 million operation, giving her a substantial six-figure income that actually exceeded mine by about $30,000. When our 2 daughters were born, we made the strategic decision that I would leave my corporate position to become a stay-at-home father. Lisa argued that her company was more vulnerable and needed her constant attention, while my employer would function fine without me. I agreed because the numbers made sense, and honestly, I wanted to be present for my girls' childhood. What I didn't anticipate was how this arrangement would fundamentally alter the power dynamic in our marriage. Lisa began treating me like hired help rather than an equal partner. Comments like, "Do you actually do anything all day?" and "Maybe you should get a real job" became routine. The respect I'd earned through years of professional success evaporated in her eyes. But here's what Lisa never understood about my professional background, and what would ultimately become her downfall. Before leaving the corporate world, I wasn't just any systems analyst. I specialized in forensic data recovery and digital security protocols for major corporations. I'd spent 7 years detecting internal fraud, tracking digital communications, and building airtight evidence packages for executive legal proceedings. My expertise in uncovering hidden information and documenting systematic deception was precisely the skill set needed to expose her affair comprehensively. The suspicious behavior started about 18 months ago. Lisa became secretive with her phone, worked increasingly late hours, and showed zero interest in physical intimacy. Last month, she announced this girls' weekend trip with her office friends, something that had never happened before in our 13-year marriage. Saturday evening, while putting the kids to bed, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Lisa's male best friend Marcus, someone who'd always made me uncomfortable due to his obvious romantic interest in my wife. When I answered, he didn't speak, but I could hear background conversation. At first I thought it was an accidental dial, but then I heard him clearly say, "I love you so much," followed by Lisa's voice, responding, "I love you too." The conversation continued for nearly 20 minutes. I listened as they discussed their physical relationship, their plans to be together permanently, and most devastatingly, their mutual contempt for me. Marcus called me a pathetic house husband who couldn't hold down a real job, and Lisa agreed, adding that I was completely dependent on her financially and too weak to ever leave. They had no idea I was listening to every word, automatically recording the entire conversation through my phone's built-in digital forensics app that I'd maintained from my corporate days. Within an hour of hanging up, Marcus sent me a series of text messages, screenshots of their intimate conversations, explicit photos they had exchanged, and even a video clip from their current weekend getaway. At first, I thought this was incredibly stupid behavior, but then I realized his strategy. He wanted me to know about the affair because he believed it would drive me away, leaving Lisa free to be with him permanently. What Marcus didn't understand was that he'd just handed me a comprehensive evidence package that would destroy both their careers and Lisa's financial security. My forensic background had taught me that emotional reactions lead to strategic mistakes. Instead of confronting Lisa immediately, I began methodically building a case that would maximize the consequences for both of them. Monday morning, I contacted 3 different professionals. First, I called David Richardson, a divorce attorney I'd worked with during my corporate days when our company faced employee matrimonial disputes. David specializes in high-asset divorces and has a reputation for aggressive advocacy. Second, I reached out to my former colleague Jennifer Stone. now a private investigator focusing on corporate and personal misconduct cases. Finally, I scheduled a consultation with my financial advisor to analyze our complete asset portfolio. The legal consultation was enlightening. David reviewed the evidence I'd gathered, including the recorded conversation, text message screenshots, and photographic proof of their workplace relationship. "This is the strongest adultery case I've seen in 15 years, he said. "Your wife's company has a strict no fraternization policy, which means both she and Marcus violated their employment contracts. More importantly, since you sacrificed your career to support the household while she built her business, you're entitled to substantial alimony payments." The financial analysis was even more promising. Because I'd given up a $145,000 salary to support Lisa's business growth, the court would likely award me 40 or 50% of her annual income as spousal support. Additionally, since we'd purchased our $850,000 home primarily with my pre-marriage savings and early career earnings, I would retain full ownership. Lisa would be required to find alternative housing while continuing to pay the mortgage until our children reach adulthood. Jennifer's investigation uncovered additional information that strengthened my position. Lisa and Marcus had been using company resources for their personal relationship, including charging romantic dinners and weekend getaways to business expense accounts. This constituted embezzlement and could result in criminal charges if Lisa's business partners decided to pursue legal action. But the most devastating discovery came from analyzing their digital communications. Using my forensic software, I recovered deleted messages spanning 18 months, revealing that their affair had begun shortly after Lisa promoted Marcus to senior consultant. She'd given him a $35,000 salary increase and positioned him to inherit major client accounts, essentially using company resources to benefit her lover at the expense of other employees. Armed with this comprehensive evidence package, I developed a multi-phase strategy designed to maximize consequences while protecting my children's interests. Phase 1 involved documenting everything through official channels. I filed a formal complaint with Lisa's business partners, providing evidence of her financial misconduct and policy violations. Phase 2 required strategic timing to ensure maximum professional and personal impact. Wednesday morning, I called Lisa's office and requested a meeting with her business partner, Amanda, claiming I had important information about company finances. Amanda agreed to see me that afternoon, probably assuming I wanted to discuss some household financial matter. The meeting exceeded my expectations. When I presented the evidence of Lisa's affair, the embezzlement of company funds, and the systematic misuse of business resources to benefit her lover, Amanda was visibly shaken. "This isn't just a personal betrayal," she said. "This is fraud. Lisa has violated her fiduciary duty to the company and potentially exposed us to significant legal liability." Amanda immediately called an emergency meeting with their third business partner, Robert Davis. Within 2 hours, they'd voted to remove Lisa from all management positions and freeze her access to company accounts pending a full financial audit. Marcus was terminated immediately for gross misconduct and violation of company policy. That evening, I implemented phase 2 of my strategy. I arrived at Lisa's office at 6 p.m., knowing she'd be working late as usual. The building was nearly empty, providing the perfect setting for a public confrontation that would humiliate her in front of any remaining colleagues. I walked directly to her desk and placed an envelope containing divorce papers, copies of all the evidence I'd gathered, and a detailed letter outlining the financial consequences she now faced. "I know about the affair," I said in a voice loud enough for the few remaining employees to hear clearly. "I know about the embezzlement, and I know exactly how much this is going to cost you." Lisa's face went completely pale as she opened the envelope. Her hands were shaking as she read through the divorce papers and saw the evidence of her own misconduct compiled in a professional legal document. "How did you?" she started to ask, but I interrupted her. "I spent 7 years tracking digital fraud for major corporations," I said. "Did you really think I wouldn't notice $47,000 in suspicious business expenses? Did you think I couldn't recover deleted text messages? Did you really believe I would just accept being called a pathetic house husband without consequences?" The few employees still in the office were clearly listening to every word, despite pretending to work at their computers. Lisa tried to speak quietly, but I maintained my normal volume, ensuring everyone could hear the complete explanation of her professional and personal misconduct. "You've been terminated from the company you inherited from your father," I continued. "Marcus has been fired and will likely face criminal charges for the expense account fraud. You'll be paying me $4,200 monthly in spousal support while I retain full ownership of our house. The children will live with me, and you'll have supervised weekend visits until you can demonstrate financial stability." Lisa finally found her voice. "You can't do this," she whispered. "This company is my life. Those children are my daughters. You're not taking everything away from me." "I'm not taking anything," I replied. "These are the natural consequences of your choices. You chose to betray our marriage. You chose to embezzle company funds. You chose to systematically humiliate me. Now you'll experience what it feels like to lose everything you built." I walked out of the office, leaving Lisa sitting at her desk with tears streaming down her face, and her colleagues staring at their computers, pretending they hadn't witnessed the complete destruction of her professional reputation. The following weeks brought a cascade of additional consequences. Lisa's business partners completed their financial audit and discovered an additional $23,000 in questionable expenses related to her affair. They filed a civil lawsuit seeking full restitution plus legal fees. Marcus, facing potential criminal charges, attempted to negotiate a plea agreement by providing additional evidence of Lisa's misconduct, further damaging her legal position. Lisa moved in with her mother and took an entry-level position at a competing firm, earning approximately $45,000 annually. After paying spousal support, legal fees, and restitution to her former company, her monthly take-home income barely covered basic living expenses. The woman who had once earned $175,000 annually while mocking my contributions to our family now struggled to afford rent on a studio apartment. The divorce proceedings concluded exactly as David had predicted. I was awarded full custody of our daughters, ownership of our house, and $4,200 monthly spousal support for 8 years. Lisa received weekend visitation rights and responsibility for half of the children's educational and medical expenses, despite her dramatically reduced income. Marcus faced even harsher consequences. The company pressed criminal charges for embezzlement, resulting in a plea agreement that included $30,000 in restitution payments and 18 months of probation. His professional reputation was completely destroyed, and he eventually moved to another state to find employment. 6 months later, I returned to corporate work with a specialized consulting firm that values my forensic expertise. My new position pays $165,000 annually, plus the spousal support payments, giving me a combined household income exceeding what Lisa and I earned together during our marriage. The children adjusted well to our new life, and Lisa's weekend visits became increasingly sporadic as she struggled with the financial and emotional consequences of her choices. The most satisfying aspect of this entire situation wasn't the financial victory or professional vindication. It was the complete reversal of the power dynamic that Lisa had exploited for years. The woman who'd called me a pathetic house husband now depended on my continued success to maintain even basic living standards. The executive who'd mocked my contributions now struggled with entry-level responsibilities while I consulted for Fortune 500 companies. Lisa had systematically underestimated my capabilities, assuming that leaving corporate work had somehow diminished my professional expertise. She never understood that forensic skills and strategic thinking don't disappear just because you're changing diapers and cooking dinner. Her contempt for my contributions to our family blinded her to the very capabilities that would ultimately destroy everything she'd built. Sometimes the most devastating revenge comes not from emotional outbursts or dramatic confrontations, but from patient, methodical application of professional expertise to expose the truth and ensure appropriate consequences.